Good afternoon. I'm Alan Unell, and this series of videos is Healthcare Advocacy, where we address problems in the healthcare system and then try to take actions to make a better system for all of us. We have a lot of topics to go over today, including long COVID and reproductive rights. But before we do, down below in the YouTube description box is a link to the Healthcare Advocacy newsletter that is the text for today's video. In there, you'll find links to all of the medical journals and medical news reports and all of the actions that we recommend. And you can, of course, subscribe for free. So let's talk about long COVID. Arthritis drugs already available for prescription have the potential to halt lingering lung problems that can last for months or years after COVID-19 infections. New research from the University of Virginia School of Medicine and Cedars-Sinai suggests. And of course, there's a link to their research in the newsletter. By examining damaged human lungs and developing an innovative new lab model, the scientists identified faulty immune processes responsible for the ongoing lung issues that plague an increasing number of people after they've otherwise recovered from COVID-19. These lasting harms of the COVID infection, known as post-infection lung fibrosis, have no good treatments to date. The new research, however, suggests that existing drugs such as baricitinib, I hope I got that right, and anakinra can disrupt malfunctioning immune response and finally allow the damaged lungs to heal. There's a link to the news story from News Medical as well. Let's talk about some abortion news that's good from the state of Alaska. A state judge in Alaska struck down a law prohibiting anyone other than a licensed physician from performing abortions. Superior Court Judge Josie Garton ruled this week, Wednesday, that the law imposed a substantial burden on patients' fundamental privacy rights to make reproductive health decisions. There's a link to the story from The Hill. The Alaska Supreme Court had previously found that the right to privacy in that state's constitution also applied to abortion rights. Garton said advanced practice clinicians, like nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and the like, are qualified to perform an abortion care and to treat any complications that might arise. The decision stems from a 2019 lawsuit brought by Planned Parenthood, which challenged the law that says that only a doctor licensed by the state medical board can perform an abortion in Alaska. So that's good news. But in Texas, bad news. Texas sued the Biden administration in an effort to block a new ruling that seeks to protect the privacy of women living in states that ban abortion who happen to travel out of the state for the procedure. In a lawsuit filed on Wednesday of this week, again in Lubbock, Texas, the state asked a federal judge to strike down the rule which prohibits healthcare providers and insurers from giving state law enforcement authorities information about reproductive health care that is legal where it was provided. Reuters had this story. This is actually a fascist state behavior and is enabled by a let the state handle it mentality, which is just crap. The same way that segregation was handled and voting rights. And of course, we know that the federal government had to step in and fix that. Look, let's take an action and put this kind of shameful behavior in front of our members of Congress and senators. You can use ResistBot on your cell phone. All you have to do is send a text message to 50409. And here's the message. Sign, S-I-G-N, space, PGJKHL. That's sign, PGJKHL to 50409. Here's the message you'll send. I'm your constituent, and I don't know about you, but I am fed up with the way that women are treated in this country. And I bet you are too. Or your mother, or your sister, or your daughter is fed up with it. Leaving rights to the states is a long failed policy. It enabled segregation and enabled voting restrictions. Remember? Now Texas wants the names of women who travel out of state for an abortion so they can be prosecuted. I include a link in the email so that the legislative analyst or the representative or senator can actually go and read the story for themselves. Then get in gear and get the Women's Health Protection Act to a vote by any means you can imagine. Vote for it and resolve the nationwide right to an abortion. Restore the nationwide right to an abortion. Do them both. Anyway, let's talk about one of my favorite stories. January 6th, an election denying. Yay. Election denying physician brawler has been sentenced. A Massachusetts medical doctor who punched a police officer during a mob's attack on the U.S. Capitol was sentenced this week to 9 months of imprisonment and 9 months of home confinement. Jacqueline Sterer, yes, it's a woman, was in a crowd of rioters inside the Capitol on January 6, 2021. She struck an officer with a closed fist and shouted profane insults. And they have footage of her doing this. It's amazing. Anyway, online licensing records indicate that Sterer agreed in January 2023 to not practice medicine in Massachusetts any longer. The state had previously issued her license in 1983. Ochrav. And if you don't know what that means, if you send me a note, I'll send you the translation. Let's talk about Steward Healthcare and their problems because they continue. A whistleblower has come forward to Congress alleging that Steward Healthcare CEO Ralph DeLatorre and other executives illegally conspired with foreign officials to secure a hospital contract abroad. This was according to CBS, and of course there's a link to their research. In touting Steward's supposed competitive advantage in the country of Malta, DeLatorre boasted that he could issue brown bags to government officials, if necessary, to close the transaction. Of course, he's referring to brown bags filled with cash. This was reported by Ram Tumaluri, a healthcare executive who worked with the Maltese government. He wrote this in a complaint to the U.S. Congress, and he shared it with CBS News. The allegations come as an avalanche of scrutiny has fallen on Steward, which declared bankruptcy earlier this year. A federal grand jury in Boston is probing the company's compensation for executives and spending on travel that the top executives have taken, including DeLatorre. The whistleblower complaint emerges as DeLatorre has been subpoenaed to testify on Capitol Hill and has told, I think it's the Senate, he told the Senate to just pound sand. He's not coming. Anyway, the subpoena was for him to arrive in Congress on September 12th. This guy stinks on ice. What a charmer. Okay, that's what I've got for you today. Down below you can like, share, subscribe, send me comments or request for translation to healthcareadvocacy1@gmail.com. Thanks. Have a good evening.